live from the heart of Lincoln, America.
Welcome to Ticket Weeknights
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello, 93.7 The Ticket listeners. Happy days because I'm here with NWU legend and 93.7 The Ticket legend, Bella Hogue. If you haven't heard her name before, where have you been? She's just kind of a big deal. Even though she's so humble that she would never actually admit that. Bella, how are you?
Ellie, I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm having myself a day.
Good.
But we're regrouping. We're coming back, and we're gonna do it 10 times better than the last time.
That's right. That is so right.
Bella, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How'd you kind of start at NWU? How did things start for you?
The whole process. Yeah. Okay. Short and sweet. I graduated from Conestoga High School in 2020. It's a small school just south of Omaha. I danced my entire life, but started running track when I was in junior high. Decided to run track in college after I was recruited by the University of Nebraska. Ran there for a year and then transferred to Nebraska Wesleyan, where I finished out my college career and earned my degree in communication studies and marketing. I was an intern here at the Ticket, which is how Ellie kind of got connected, which is so fun that this is coming full circle. And that was my first full-time job out of college. But sadly, I did leave to go to a different job, my dream job. But I have such a special place in my heart for 93.7 The Ticket. Obviously, why I'm here right now. Mm-hmm. But that is like the brief backstory of my life. Yeah.
You left right when I started getting the ball rolling, and you left, and then I'm blanking on her name right now. But I feel like all the girls left. And now it's just me here with a bunch of guys. I'm holding my own. I promise you. I'm doing the dang thing.
Mm-hmm. You are.
But how did you kind of get involved at the Ticket? How did you hear about them?
So I was just scrolling through Handshake, which is, for those of you who don't know, almost like the LinkedIn or like Indeed of college students. So it's where college students find internships or on-campus jobs or even jobs right out of college. And so I was scrolling on Handshake because at Nebraska Wesleyan, you are required to have an internship. Mm-hmm. And I saw that 93.7 The Ticket was hiring. And I wasn't like super familiar with us at the time. But once I started reading like the job description, I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds perfect. Like combining my education and the degree I was pursuing with my love for sports. Mm-hmm. It was like so perfect. And I had so much fun during my internship.
And that's exactly why I am. That's exactly why I wanted to go into it. We're both really good at talking, and we both really like sports. So I was like, why not bring those two together? Because I had to do an internship blog for Carla's class the other day, and I went back and read yours to just get inspiration on how to do it.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
And I also got to see that she had posted pictures on there of like the old Ticket building. I didn't even know that you were there during that time.
Yes, I was only there. I started in April of 2023. And then we moved here in September of 2023. So I was only there for a few months. Mm-hmm. This place is way cooler. Though, it's all about the people anyway. Yeah. And it was the same people over there as it is over here. So
transitioning back into kind of talking about track. How did you get involved in track? You did it in high school and all that stuff. But how did you decide to do it in college?
I actually didn't want to run track in college. That was like my big thing. I was definitely like a nervous performer. Mm-hmm. I would get super nervous before meets, and I'd be like, I hate track. It's horrible. It's not fun. It just is awful all the time. Until, backtrack. I wanted to dance in college. Mm-hmm. That was like my dream. I danced for the first 18 years of my life. It was a super big part of my life and still is. And so I thought I wanted to go to a school in Nebraska and just join their dance team. Mm-hmm. But when I was recruited in either my junior or senior, probably my junior year, I got a text from a coach at the University of Nebraska. And it was kind of one of those moments where like, wow, like they've noticed me. They've noticed my times. Like this could be something really cool to pursue. And although it didn't work out, or I didn't stay at Nebraska my entire college career, it was such a cool opportunity to be there and to be able to experience that. So I've kind of experienced both the D1 and the D3 side of things. And there's like great things and not great things about either one. But regardless, it's all about having a good experience. And I had a great experience either way.
So UNL, you graduated in the peak of COVID, and then that first year of college was it's your first year of college and it's also COVID. So there's a lot of things going on. What was it like during that COVID time, especially at UNL, at such a big campus and so many people, and also being on the track team? What was that like?
Yeah, it was an interesting time of my life. A very memorable time of my life, just because we were all going through such crazy things and it didn't even seem real. So I graduated in 2020 from high school, and then that was like the start of COVID. And then when I started my freshman year, it was, still COVID, obviously. It was very strange going to class, but not being in class. Yeah. So I'd like get on my Zoom class, or some classes didn't even have Zoom. So I'd go through a whole semester and never see my professor one single time. It was kind of like teaching yourself. And I know this, not just the University of Nebraska, it was just like every school in the country was experiencing this. And it's such a hard thing for students to have to go through that. But obviously we survived. So it's okay. Everybody was going through it together. So we just leaned on each other a lot. Yeah. For practice, we had to do lots of testing. So many COVID tests. I'd be at Memorial Stadium like 3 or 4 times a week during the day just to get COVID tests. We had to have an app on our phones that would tell us, like, we had to check our symptoms every single day before we could enter practice. A lot of masks, a lot of social distancing, a lot of spreading out practice times, which was really hard. But I feel like Nebraska did a really good job of still allowing us to compete our best at practice, even though we couldn't compete at meets. Like, I know a lot of other schools had to wear masks while they were running, and I have asthma. Bad. Yeah. And so I would be physically unable to do that because I can't breathe very well to begin with. So we were very lucky that they had the plan to kind of spread things out so that we didn't have to wear masks at practice, but such a weird time of our lives.
Do you feel like did you have effective practices even with COVID? Because I doubt there was not everybody was there. So like, were you just practicing in small groups?
Yes, just event groups. So I was specifically with the female sprinters, which very different from Nebraska Wesleyan. At Nebraska Wesleyan, everybody's at practice at the same time. It's just like kind of whatever you prefer. Like, some people really like to have super one-on-one specific, like in your event group at a specific time, and other people like to be around all of their teammates. Yeah. So it just kind of depends on preference, but yeah.
So you obviously were at UNL for 1 year. What drew you to the decision to go to Nebraska Wesleyan?
Yeah, such a hard decision. It was something I wrestled with for such a long time, but obviously I have so many great things to say about Nebraska. The school, education, professors, the program, the athletic department as a whole, just like amazing things to say. But there's also something to be said about people have different needs, I guess. And sometimes UNL is exactly what you're looking for. And sometimes Nebraska Wesleyan is exactly what you're looking for. And I think I had to experience UNL in order to understand that Nebraska Wesleyan was what I needed. So I grew up at a really small school, like I said, and I grew up getting really close relationships, building really close relationships with my teachers and my coaches and my peers and my teammates. And that was something that I just missed while I was at Nebraska. And again, a lot of it was from COVID, but I had met some kids from Nebraska Wesleyan while I was at UNL, and I had built a great relationship with their coach. Well, my coach, Derek McKenzie, the head coach at Nebraska Wesleyan, just through recruiting. And so I knew after I had experienced UNL that was the place that was going to be best for me. And like I said, schools can be better for different people. Like, it's just kind of personal preference. So yeah, I'm very thankful for my experiences at both places.
And D1 to D3, there is a pretty big jump between that. I'm not going to make you go into full detail of like all the differences that came from those, but what was one of the biggest differences that you saw from jumping from D1 to D3?
I feel like the biggest difference was kind of the personal attention. There are so many kids on the rosters at UNL, and so much recruiting going on, and so many different coaches, which, like I said, is awesome for some people. But for me, I needed more of a personal approach. And so when I transferred to Nebraska Wesleyan, I knew that Derek McKenzie was going to be able to give me that personal approach. Some athletes prefer to kind of work on their own. Like, some people would rather just kind of figure it out for themselves. And I think maybe it was because of COVID, but I like needed somebody to be there to really, really guide me through things, both academically and athletically.
So you obviously have a lot of awards that you've won. You have a really big resume of track related things. So tell the listeners what specifically was your races that you did. What were the running events that you did?
Yeah, I was a sprinter. Like I said, I was long distance. I don't know if I said this time or when we recorded it earlier. But I was a sprinter. Used to be long distance until I kind of grew up and got stronger, and then decided the 100, 200, and 400 were best for me, which is so fun. If you've ever ran track, you know that the 100 is so much more fun than running like a 5K. So
I'd much rather do that. I can't do it.
Yes, which is, it's kind of a blessing that I got to experience both sides of it, because I felt like sprinting was like so much more fun. Like maybe sprinters that don't experience long distance don't have that same sort of like relief of getting to run a 100 versus running a 5K. Yeah. But I absolutely loved sprinting. I mean, it was a little tougher on my body, injury wise, but it was so fun.
And so you obviously experienced some injuries throughout your career. What were some of the injuries that you went through?
So at the University of Nebraska, I had a stress fracture in my femur, a partially torn labrum, and a strained hip flexor. Got that all healed up. That's a the labrum injury is a very common injury for runners specifically, runners and dancers, which imagine that crazy. So
the segue to that actually is, I want to talk about that because I had some people at my high school that were such good dancers, and they also did track.
Yeah.
And then they thought they were going to dance their whole life, same as you. And then went to GCU. Oh my God, you're literally the same as the people at my high school. They're at GCU and they're at NDSU and running track. And they were so good at track. Same with you. One of them was a sprinter. One of them did hurdles.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like it's like the training that you do in dance is so beneficial for running.
Yes.
Like in terms of explosiveness. Like in dance, you're constantly bouncing off the floor doing obviously a dance, but that's like plyometrics in track and field where what we do every single week. So anytime we'd have to do jump drills or bounds or leapfrogs or anything like that, like I was like, oh yeah, I got it. I got it.
It's come natural. It's a natural thing to you.
Yeah. Well, it's just like being able to explode off the ground out of the blocks, being able to push off the ground and produce all the power needed to move fast, or in dance, jump high or jump far. It was like super beneficial, which I didn't understand until now. I'm a dance teacher now. So I'm like training my girls that take classes with me, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of similar to like track training. It's crazy.
Just the segue to that is just insane.
Totally.
So, like I said, you have a lot of different. I remember in our Prairie Wolf Press interview, you used the word accolades or something like that. Was that what you said?
I might have said that.
You know what that means. But you have a really long line of resumes. You have won some championships. Tell the listeners, which I know you're a humble person, but people want to know what championships I'm going to make you do. What championships have you won?
Okay. In 2022, I won the indoor 200, and then outdoor that year, I won at D3 Nationals. Sorry. I won the indoor 200, and then outdoor, I won the outdoor 100 and 200. And then after that, those were my only 3 national championships, but still got to have the opportunity to compete for All-Americans and final at nationals. And so fun. Kelly, you made me do that.
I'm like, but she's such a humble person, and just making her, I want to know that, because it's just something that like NWU not knows you for that, but like you're just you brought attention to the school, if that makes sense, because track is such a big sport at Nebraska Wesleyan. Like there's so many people on the track team. Like, Natalie, she was on the soccer team, and she knew that she could also do some jumping and some sprinting.
Yeah, All-American.
All-American, yes.
Yep, 4x4 girl.
Shout out. You're also on that 4x4 team.
Yes.
So what's different than let me rephrase this. You go to a bunch of different meets throughout the year. What makes those meets different than from a national meet?
So leading up to nationals in Division 3, how it works to qualify for nationals is you have to be in the top X amount of athletes in the country based on time, or if you're jumping or throwing based on your marks.
Yes.
So every meet leading up to the national meet is all about making those qualifying times. It's not necessarily about winning every race or being top 3 or like anything like that. It's all about times. So you only want, you're only pushing against yourself. When you get to nationals, it's all about win or lose.
Yeah.
So you're competing against other people, which is kind of a strange transition. I mean, in like conference, you definitely are competing against like the other people in your conference. Like having a conference title is like a fun thing to say. But other than that, like you're just competing for time. And the nationals, it's like, oh wow, I'm here with other people, and like I have to like beat these other bodies on the track. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy that we just like make that transition so fast.
And how many meets do you guys usually go to throughout the year?
So we do
4 nationals,
indoor and outdoor. There's probably about 10 meets indoor, 10 meets outdoor, something like that, or around there. But it's not always like everybody competing in every meet. I think most of the time I only competed at about 6 meets before nationals. But that was also because of injuries. And just making sure that we're like scheduled to peak at nationals. You don't want to peak in your season at like the 4th meet. Like DMAC and Ted Bowling, who was the previous head coach, who was coach in Nebraska Wesleyan for 40 years, super successful guy. They had this program that would lead us up to find success at the national meet, so that we wouldn't just peak in week 4 and then like decline from there. I
feel like you were always at like a good steady pace. And I'm glad that you guys had that training to do that, because for a lot of athletes, and it doesn't matter at any sport that you're at, you don't want to peak too early.
Yeah, true.
Like if you look at the Nebraska volleyball team, everybody's like saying like, oh, it's probably a good thing that we lost to SMU that one time, because then you don't have that undefeated record on the back.
True.
So just making sure that you're not peaking at a bad time, I would say.
Totally. Yeah. And obviously trusting your coaches is a big part of that.
Yes.
I definitely trusted my coach in high school, trusted my coaches at Nebraska, and wasn't going to stop that when I got to Nebraska Wesleyan. So that's almost like a piece of advice for kids in college or in high school, is to trust your coach if you feel they know what they're doing. And especially with Ted Bowling and DMAC having so much success in the past, I was like, they know what they're doing. I need to do exactly what they tell me to do. Yeah.
So you've obviously had a few coaches, and you've kind of touched on this. How important is it to have that relationship with a coach?
Oh, so important. So it literally makes the world of a difference. I remember I got to Nebraska Wesleyan, and I would just be like in the warm-up lines. We all warm up in like big columns all together. And DMAC and Ted would be walking through the warm-up aisles, just asking every single kid, how's your day? How's school? Oh, how's your mom? How's your dad? Like all of these things that they like got to know them personally. I was like, wow, that is incredible. It doesn't matter how fast you are, how far you can throw, or how high you can jump. It was, I care about you as a person, and your marks and your times come after that. Which is so comforting as an athlete, knowing that my worth is not defined by the things that I do. It's defined by who I am as a person. And DMAC and Ted really, really made sure that we all knew that.
So track is, you obviously have your individual events, but then eventually all of the points that you scored during those individual events kind of come up to a team score.
Yes.
You obviously have different teams throughout the NWU community, and I've seen that too. And I talked to Natalie and Avery Hogue about this a few weeks ago, but it's a very individual sport, but also a team sport. Do you feel like at NWU it was a more of a big collective team, or was there just kind of like, not like cliques, but like teams throughout that team?
I don't know. I feel like Nebraska Wesleyan, since we're such a small team, we are all super close. Like it's not just like I'm here at 4 to run sprints, and then the throwers are there at 9 a.m. and we never see them, and I never get to know their names. Like I get to know every single person's name on the team to build those like personal relationships with them. When it comes to scoring at meets, that's a little bit difficult because not all meets score as a team. So it's just like knowing which ones do, and especially conference and nationals are the big ones that are like, okay, we need to put together everything that we can and make sure that we score points at these meets. Yeah.
And how many races were you running every single running event that you had listed off before at each meet? Or were you doing like, oh, you were running the 400 at this one, maybe add in the 200 there, or were you doing all of them at the same time?
In high school, it was every single race that you can possibly do, you're going to run.
Yeah.
Which is exhausting. But I didn't know it at the time. I was just like, oh, yeah, it's totally normal because everybody does it. When you get to college, it's a lot more specialized because everyone is getting so much faster.
Yeah.
Injuries become a lot more of a worry. So especially I was super injury prone, pulled my hamstring 5 times in college. Horrible.
Yeah.
Literally awful. So there were some meets where I like couldn't run the 60 because it was going to be too dangerous. So I'd run the 400 and the 4x4. Or I eventually something happened where I would get fatigued during a 400 and my hamstring would pull. And so then I had to run the shorter races. So it's just this big battle for all of my college career of like trying to fight these hamstrings. And I worked with dry needling and all of this crazy stuff. I had one time this blood flow restriction therapy where I would like cut off circulation to my legs and then go on an exercise bike. And it was supposed to simulate the feeling of like running really hard reps in practice without actually like putting any hard strain on your body.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. So a lot of the races that I ran depended on how my injuries were doing at the time. And I understand that like, that's just how things were supposed to be. It's definitely disappointing to look back and see that I like had different struggles with injuries throughout my entire college career. But just understanding that everything happens for a reason and everything happened as it was supposed to.
But I give kudos to you because even though you did have those injuries, and I know not a lot of people knew that you had those injuries, and that's props to you because not everybody knew that you had those injuries. Like you were still going out, you were still doing the races that you needed to do, especially when it came to those team relays. Like you were showing up and having to do those because those relays, I think that personally, I think relays are the most fun. Oh, especially like the 4x1 and the 4x4.
Oh, yeah.
The 4x4, my favorite race.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
So fun.
That's the one I like when I'm watching the Olympics. That's the one. That's the one I want to watch.
Do you have a favorite race that you did?
My favorite race was the 200. Okay. Hands down. It was like the perfect happy medium of, it was actually the last race I ever ran. The perfect happy medium. It wasn't too far like the 400 to get too out of breath with my asthma. Yeah. Wasn't too dangerous like the 100. So it was like the perfect in between. I loved it. I love running a curve. Yeah. Which is probably a niche thing, but I don't know.
What's the difference between running a curve and running straight?
Running a curve, you lean. You are literally leaning. Like imagine you're like on a NASCAR track. You know how the tracks on NASCAR are like lifted? Yeah. They're like the lean. Okay. So it's crazy. You're like hugging that inside line, trying not to get disqualified by stepping on it. You're like leaning into it so hard and you're trying to shoot off that curve. There's a lot of strategy in it. Even just like angling my blocks slightly when I'm starting on a curve compared to keeping them straight when I'm starting on a straight. Crazy stuff. Like the little things make so much of a difference. I bet. It's wild.
Well, Bella, we're going to throw it to our first break. And then when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more. We obviously talked a lot of track during this first segment, but I want to talk about more than track being you're more than just the times that you get, things like that. What's in the future for you? So we will see you after the break.
Woo.
Back to the Ticket weeknights
on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Behind the Black and Gold. I have the great honor of being here with Bella Hogue, NWU alum now. Crazy to think about.
I know.
What was senior year like for you?
Senior year of college was so much different than senior year of high school. We talked about this earlier. Graduating in 2020. Yeah. Year got cut short. Like having a full senior year at Nebraska Wesleyan was awesome. But senior year of college is so different from like freshman or sophomore year because you're so independent. Like I lived off campus. I didn't have class every single day. I didn't have to take my gen ed classes that I didn't really
You're just taking those required classes and kind of
I get
fulfilling credits.
Yes. I got to really pick my schedule. And so senior year of college, it's like such a great transition from college into the real life, the real world.
I'm finding that obviously like I'm looking for like things and like looking at my future and I'm getting senioritis, even though I'm not even done with my first semester of college. Yes. It's just, you're so independent and you're like, obviously with like internships and things like that, it feels like you're like doing this like full-time thing. And then you also just have to go to classes.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird because you're like, gosh, I like could be doing a full-time job right now, but I'm like at a part-time job and school and whatever activities you're involved with, which Ellie, if you don't know, she's involved with everything. Everything. Ellie is very well rounded.
It's getting to me. Every time that like somebody's like, oh yeah, what are you like involved in and what are you doing? And like I have to fill out like scholarship things and I have to do all the things. I'm like, you have to remember all the things.
So Ellie, what are you involved in?
At NWU, people say this, but I don't actually think it. Everybody, when they introduce me, are like, they're like, yeah, she's the voice of NWU.
You
like,
are. You bleed black and gold.
I do. And I used to say that all the time. Do you remember in Patty's class? I'm like, Patty, I bleed black and gold. I do.
That's when we did our project on the Nebraska Wesleyan Athletic Department.
No, I'm so glad that we did that because it was just such an easy thing for us to do. Like we were already involved in that and just
Anyway,
the athletic department is so good at Nebraska Wesleyan.
Oh my gosh, so good. I need to go back and see them. They're all so fun.
They miss you.
Oh, I know my gosh, that's so nice. I'm honored that they missed me.
NWU misses you.
NWU misses you. I miss NWU. Okay, Ellie.
I bet Dr. Good misses you a lot.
Dr. Good. I just thought about him today.
Really?
Which is interesting. I was like, I should like bring donuts or something and just like walk around and give donuts to all the people that I miss.
Like, hey, I miss you. Here's a donut.
Yeah, I'd run out of donuts very quick. Anyway, okay, what are you involved in?
PA announcer at NWU. I'm still doing that. We just ended volleyball season. They lost to Dubuque last night in 4 sets, but they had a great season.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Especially compared to they won that like last year. If you were at their volleyball game last year, how they lost at home to Co.
Yeah,
that one was hard, but they won the first round of the ARC tournament, so that was also just a good. They went out with a bang this year, so I really appreciate that.
Good.
Men's soccer PA'd for them. Soccer isn't my favorite sports PA just because I say the lineups and then if they get a goal, I'll yell goal, things like that. But they did really well this year.
You do your goal?
Goal for Bella Hogue.
That's awesome. I don't know if I've ever scored a goal in the past 10 years.
I was never able to play soccer because my mom said I was accident prone and all this stuff. Like,
are you?
Maybe. Yeah. Now that I'm really thinking about it,
like,
actually,
yeah. Oh,
maybe she was a little bit smarter than me when it came to that. But yeah, PAing for them, and now it's finally getting into basketball season. And basketball season, that is my favorite season. It's just I'm a big person that I like to. With soccer and things like that, you're just like kind of waiting for something to happen. When it comes to volleyball and basketball, you're constantly saying something, which I really like. And I also like how big the community is when it comes to sports at NWU. Like people show up and people care about them.
Yeah.
And we make that known. And people also just, and like people come to track meets, which in high school, nobody came.
True.
Nobody was out there coming to track meets, but people are like actually enjoy coming to track meets and watching them because there's such a big community, especially because there are so many athletes at NWU. You're friends with so many athletes.
Yeah, people just go to watch their friends at all these sporting events, and then it looks like Nebraska Wesleyan has such a good community, which we do. But
yes. What was one of your favorite sports to go and watch when you were at NWU?
Oh, well, so I grew up dancing. Loved watching anywhere the dance team was. Really, that was where I wanted to be. Got to know some of the girls. I'm still friends with a few of them that are currently on the team. A couple of them from my high school, or one of them, which is so fun. But really, anywhere where the dance team is. I mean, you try as much as you can to go and support all of the other teams. Obviously, schedules don't always align, but any chance you get to go watch something, just like being in the atmosphere of any sporting event, it's like, wow, this is something really cool to be a part of.
I actually have such an appreciation for the dance team because some of my best friends were on that team, and then I went to the ARC championship in Wartburg last year for the dance team, and I'm just like, there's actually so many, like, who cares if it's a D3 level? Like, there's dancers throughout, like, just some really, really good dancers that are coming from so many of the ARC schools, especially at our school, like the Gasolina dance. If you remember the Gasolina dance that they used to do,
that one.
I'll have to show you it after this. My friend Madison taught me the Gasolina dance because I was so obsessed with that dance, and everybody knows how much I love that dance she taught me it the other day. I don't remember it off the top of my head right now, but
it's okay. I won't quiz you on it. I won't make you show me.
Please don't. Actually, I'll show you one part that I remember. But the Gasolina dance was my favorite. And just, I'm loving that people know about them and like people like remember those dances. That's why I love NWU. It's just a community.
Yes.
And people know. And it's kind of like high school where everybody knows everybody and things like that. But like when it comes to college, that's kind of a better thing than it is in high school, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel that way.
I totally do. It's more, I guess, like student oriented than like parent oriented, which love my parents to death. Love all of my classmates, parents, whatever. But in college, it's so much different because like your success is based on what you are doing. Yeah,
for sure. I totally agree. My dad always says, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But Bill Bush actually came and spoke at Wesleyan the other day. And I had said, like, what do you think on, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know? He said, obviously, like, it's great to know people, but you can't go into a business not knowing anything. So you have to really piggyback on what you know.
Yes, totally.
And those types of things. So obviously, like, I knew you being able to come to the ticket, but I obviously had to have those communication skills. Segueing into what I want to talk about communication studies at NWU. Me and Bella had the opportunity to take some classes together.
Oh, yeah, quite a few.
At NWU. And those classes were honestly just so fun. And they were just like kind of a breath of fresh air compared to like other classes we were taking. And I didn't have the opportunity to take any comm classes this semester, but I will be taking my capstone next year, which I'm really excited
with
about.
Rachel Pecora. Woo, so fun.
What was one of your favorite classes that you took at NWU?
Oh, okay. So I took a communication through dialogue class, which everybody says is their favorite class. It's really just learning about how to talk to people. Yeah. Which, I mean, is what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
Learning how to listen without trying to immediately respond, which in radio, you got to respond. Yeah. So, but being super empathetic, learning that there are people that are different than you and might have different opinions, but you can still have communication with every single person in the world. And I feel like that's such a good skill to have, which, like, regardless of what job you have, you're going to have to at some point speak to someone. Yeah. Whether it's the person hiring you or you're working directly with people. So learning those skills in college and being able to like practice them and really like perfect them. Yeah. It's so cool that that's like something we just get to do at school.
That was actually one of my favorite classes too, just because like you would go into dialogue class and you would just talk about random topics, but you were doing it in a different style that day. There's so many different styles of dialogue. And Gina Chambers, she teaches a class called like current issues and ethics and things like that. And that was literally just a dialogue class, but for sports. Yeah. And because I had taken the dialogue class before that, I was actually really good at it. And I knew like the dialogue forms. So she asked me to TA next semester for that class just so because I know how to dialogue. And that's just such a good skill to have in life, especially just it's when it comes to hiring people. Yeah. You can obviously, when we're looking at a stack of resumes, that one person could have every detail of like, okay, the skill here. But when it comes to the interview, who's good at those people skills? Yeah. How important do you think people skills is when it comes to like radio or just like any other profession that people want to go into?
Yeah. So I think about like when you're creating a resume, a lot of times people tell you to put the hard skills on your resume. Things like, oh, I can work on Adobe Premiere Pro, or I can
work in Excel, which you're lying. You actually nobody knows Excel.
Oh man, like perfectly? No, there's no way. But I almost think it's more important to have the soft skills, like the ability to communicate. More importantly, the ability to learn. Yeah. Like there's some people that just like are not able to like catch on to things quickly or not able to adapt or take constructive criticism, feedback. So those soft skills, I almost feel like those are more important on a resume than hard skills. It obviously depends on the profession, but for us specifically, majoring in communication studies, those soft skills are so much more important than the hard skills.
And just being able to step out of your comfort zone and being uncomfortable in situations, like just like you're not going to know everything. Yeah, totally. You can obviously master some things, but you're not going to know, especially like when it comes to working here, like obviously, like I thought I knew I didn't know a lot about radio, but I knew a lot about talking and I knew about sports, but I'm learning things that I didn't even know that I could learn here, which is awesome. And that's what I think that is important about internships is that you're learning something. It's not just something that you're comfortable in.
Yes, totally. When I first interned here, I was the summer like a couple days of the week, I was the producer for Early Break. So if any of you listen to Early Break, shout out Jake, Sip, and Bill. I didn't want to. I was like, 6 a.m. That sounds awful. I got to be there at 5:30.
Yeah.
Heck no. That sounds horrible. And then I started doing it, sucked it up. I was like, okay,
I can get up. I can do this.
I can do it. It was only in summer. And it turned out to be like the best thing ever. Just building relationships with those guys. And obviously they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
Super, super talented on air and off air. But getting to see how they interact with each other on a live radio show, like a super popular live radio show, was so cool.
I actually got to, because Bill and I obviously work at the same place, but we don't work at the same hours.
Yes.
So he came to the business summit yesterday and he spoke, and I got him be his moderator for his session, and like being able to introduce myself to him and say, hey, like we work at the same place. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And we talked about you and how much talking about your job now, and how when it comes to when say, hey, I want to talk, he's like, yeah, I'll like put in a good word for you, but he'll just say your name and he'll say, you have to like show them that you're good. He's not going to like hype you up in any ways. Like, but he said when it came to you, he would hype you up any day. He just really enjoyed you a lot. And like, it showed that he had a lot of respect for you just because you're able to respect people in the same way.
Yeah. Thank you. Sure. Thank you. Cool. No, Bill, definitely a big part of my life now, which I didn't think I didn't expect that. I just like showed up one day and started interning, and I was like, who were these three guys? And it turns out they're like really big deals in Nebraska and even just in the United States. So it was really cool to see that. Like, I'll be walking around and I'll like say that I worked at the ticket, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, do you know Steve Sipple? Do you know Steve? Like that happens every time. Do you know Steve Sipple? Yes, I do. And he's awesome. But it's just like, he doesn't seem like a celebrity. He's just Sip. It's just
and that's how it feels at the ticket. Like there's, you have so many talents here, and you have so many people that are here. Like you're working with people that have been in the NFL, and you've been working with people that have been in the NBA, and like people like Bill Bush and stuff. Like these are important people. Yeah. But when you're talking to them, you're just forming relationships with them. I don't think like they're just normal people.
Yeah. Normal people.
Me and you are just normal people. Like, obviously, we are such big name people and we are such celebrities, but we are just normal people, guys. Like, stop asking for my autograph.
You
like,
kill me. You kill me.
I gave so much. So, Gina's class, we didn't have Gina's class yesterday because of the business summit. And every person in all of Gina's classes had to come up to me and ask me to sign this thing to like prove that they were at the business summit. And I was signing my actual signature on every single one. I'm like, guys, hold on to this paper, because it's going to be worth something someday.
Yes, that's right.
You're going to want to keep right paper now. Exactly. Yep.
Ellie's on air. Everybody watch out.
Ellie's on air. I need to tell Dr. Good about this. I'm going to post this on LinkedIn just so he comes and listens to it.
Nice. You should.
I should start doing that.
Yeah. More. Promote. You might as well.
Promotion is how you get places.
Yes.
Truly.
I work in promotion, kind of. So promotion. I guess. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say which one I work for. Hang on, I feel like my hair's almost.
Are you a part of the FBI?
No.
The FBI of social media.
The FBI of social media. That is not true. Although
if you can't talk about
it. No, I just have to. I don't know if I'm allowed. I can't say which clients I work with.
Okay.
But I work at Level 10 Social Media Marketing. It is a social media marketing firm here in Lincoln, but it's also digital media, websites, print production, photography, all that good stuff. And I'm a content creator running social media accounts. I guess you can find this on my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So if you look me up on LinkedIn, you'll be able to see. It has been so fun. It's been great to be able to use the skills that I developed at Nebraska Wesleyan and here at the ticket in like an agency setting where I like contracted out by different people to create their content and post it on social media. It is so fun. I love it so much. And like I said, I just felt so prepared by the ticket. DP and Rebecca gave me so many great opportunities to grow and learn and to like even make mistakes. Like they allowed me to make mistakes and then told me I had to fix it. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So I learned a lot through that. And I'm super thankful for them and the opportunities that they gave me. But it is so much fun. So if anybody needs social media marketing, hit me up.
You look like you're doing good stuff there. Like when you posted a video the other day and like just like the building you were in, I'm like, it is so aesthetically pleasing in there.
It is
so pretty.
Yes,
it just like seems like building. A really great place to work.
Yes, it is. My coworkers are all so fun. which I've been super lucky just in my entire life that I've had great coworkers. Like here at the Ticket, I walked in today. Obviously I don't work here anymore, but it was like I never left, just hanging out with like a bunch of friends. And that's how it feels over there too.
No, I agree. I've had great coworkers in the past, just like, especially in just like in the sports world, even though in radio and like sports radio, it is a male dominant. Sorry, I lost the thing again. We're going to keep talking.
Okay.
Because we're going to have audio, but it's a male dominant place.
Oh yeah.
How did you kind of navigate like the male dominant area?
I don't know if I even really thought about it that much. I knew that it was definitely a male dominated field. Being like when I started, there was only like a couple other women that worked here. And so that was kind of interesting to show up and it feels like I'm just like in a locker room. I'm like, what? Yeah. What is going on?
I agree.
But it turns out that everybody was super nice anyway and super friendly. And I didn't ever feel like out of place.
No.
Yeah. It feels normal.
What was one of the biggest takeaways that you took from here going into your new job?
I think the people skills. We talked about this, but so here at the Ticket, I was the assistant manager and running a lot of our communications assets, marketing, digital ads, that sort of thing. And I would sit at the front desk, and anytime people needed something, I would be there. If we had like people coming in to ask questions, I did a lot of like email correspondence, working with different businesses to get like all of our assets going, like t-shirts and billboards and all that cool stuff. And so I got to have
you created the billboards that are around LinkedIn, didn't you?
Surprise. It's me.
The wizard behind the billboards is here in the building.
They're probably gone now. They might be gone now.
Well, if you ever saw a billboard.
Yes, if you ever saw any of the Ticket people on billboards throughout Lincoln in the past couple months, that was me. It was so fun. No, that was, like I said, that was another great thing that Rebecca was able to allow me to do. The people skills. I sat at the front desk and answered questions and got to do a lot of email correspondence. And so now I don't have to do a whole lot of that. Yeah. But when I do, I feel like super comfortable talking to people. Yeah. Like there are a lot of people in the world that like don't like talking to people, which we can't relate, obviously.
No, obviously.
But I think it is a good skill to have. And it's super effective in like every job you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to throw it to our last break, and then when we come back, we'll just wrap everything up, and then we will get the final remarks from Bella Hogue.
I have to make it good.
We will see you after the break.
Back to the Ticket weeknights
on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to our final segment of today's show of Behind the Black and Gold, or as Bella would like to call it, Yip Yap.
Yip Yap. I think that's a great name.
Yip Yap. Or it's just like, welcome back, Yip Yaps.
Yes.
Welcome back, Yip Yaps.
Yeah.
I can't wait to yip and yap with you.
I love that. I don't know if people outside of Nebraska Wesleyan would understand.
No. The yip is a huge thing in Nebraska Wesleyan.
Yes. Should we talk about that?
Yes. Briefly.
Yip. Yip, yip is what a prairie wolf says. That's like, what's a dog say? Woof. What's a cat say? Meow. What's a prairie wolf say? Yip, yip. Yip. And so it's yip, yip. And it's almost like we do it like ironically, where it's like, we know this is embarrassing, but we're still going to put our fingers up and say, yip, yip.
Yip, yip. Look at the camera. Yip, yip. So, thumbnail. To wrap things up, Bella, because you obviously have some influence through your name at Nebraska Wesleyan and just things like that. Let me think about this. If I was a freshman coming into NWU and I'm listening from the Bella Hogue, what is some advice that you would give to me?
Some advice. It's all about the people. Everything you do in your life forever is going to be about the people that you surround yourself with, and surrounding yourself with good people that you want to be like, people that you love, people that love you. Like that's going to affect who you are as a person. So be around the people. Like Nebraska Wesleyan is filled with so many great people, from administration, staff, professors, coaches, athletic department in general, your teammates, your classmates, just the other people in your dorm. Yeah. The dining hall employees. Like
the people is what makes it.
Makes it. So take advantage of it. Now that I'm not there, it's like so sad. I think about all the people that I missed. Like I said, I don't know if I said it in the one we pre-recorded or this one. But I want to like bring donuts to everybody at Wesleyan. It was this one. And like just hand them out. But I would like run out of donuts so quick. Yeah. So maybe my advice to you is build so many relationships that you run out of donuts. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, somebody should quote that. I'm going to clip that.
Build so many relationships that you run out of donuts.
And that's what I just love about Nebraska Wesleyan. I talked about this with some other people. Just like you build such good relationships that take you so far in life. And like, especially like I've met you and now I'm here. Mm-hmm. It's just things that are going to help you in life and these relationships that you build. And I don't think you get that at a lot of other universities.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you would get it in like your specific like department maybe. Mm-hmm. But at Wesleyan, it's crazy because I'm sitting there with like I'm a communication studies major, sitting there with a nursing major and a criminal justice major.
Liberal arts and for you.
Yeah. It's a well-rounded education. Mm-hmm. Yep.
To wrap things up in the last question I'm going to ask you, and not a question, but like a little thing. If you could write a thank you letter to Nebraska Wesleyan, or like if you could give one last thing to Nebraska Wesleyan, what would you say?
Oh gosh, first of all, I'd probably be speechless. I couldn't even specifically think of one person to thank. Mm-hmm. There are so many people that I would thank. Just an incredible 3 years. I would say thank you for 3 years, and for making me wish it was 4. Yeah.
That's good.
Amazing place. I love it so much.
Shout out to all of our comm studies professors because there's only 4 of them. But they are a strong 4.
Carla, Dave, Rachel, and Patty. We love you.
We love you guys so much. We'd have to tell them to tune in just so they can hear this shout out.
Yes.
I'm going to tell them.
Tell Dave we're going to sing the Ewok song.
Oh my gosh. That sends me back to a time. Holy crap.
Yep. Love it.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do that again. I'm going to go in.
Not. Probably have to go see Dave. Bring him a donut. Yeah.
Bring me a donut. Yeah. Bella, thank you so much for coming and just talking about everything NWU. You're more than just an athlete. You're a great human being. You're a great person to talk to. And just, obviously you have all of these championships and just like this name that comes with track and field, but you are just overall just so much more than an athlete. And Ellie, I appreciate that about you.
Thank you so much. Ellie, you're doing amazing things. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you're here. And I can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see what you do in the future.
Thank you.
You're already killing the game.
Thank you.
To everyone, to all the listeners, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week on Behind the Black and Gold. And thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket. Ooh.